This is my first and most likely my last thrift flip. It took me several months to actually complete my flip of this, what I thought would be a very simple and easy table. So I'm going to share with you very quickly my process and a little before and after of this project. So stick around until the end and let me know what you think. I'm Garrett from At Go with Garrett. Let's get into it. I got this Queen Anne style console table from a local Salvation Army store for $30. It was in pretty decent condition, just a few scratches and in need of a good cleaning. I wasn't loving the red undertones of the wood nor the handles, so I felt inspired to give this piece a simple makeover. Here's how it looked before I got started. I removed the drawer and the handles first, and then wiped down the piece with some warm water and soap. I wanted to sand down this table entirely in order to stain it a different color, so I started off using a random orbital sander that my parents happened to have at their house. I used a 180 grit sandpaper that they also happened to have, and as I started, I quickly noticed that the sander might be a little too strong for this project. It was jumping around and making the whole table wobble a lot, so I decided to change course on that, and once I got the table back home, I used this smaller Ryobi sander that is a little more manageable and allowed me to have more control over the sanding. With this, I started off with a 100 grit sandpaper because it was what we also happened to have at home. I started to sand the edges and it was going much better for a bit. Alright guys, as you can see, the electric sanders are a little too abrasive, I guess, for for this piece of furniture and getting into the details. Like, it kind of dug in a little right there, which is okay. It didn't ruin the piece, but I'm going to try to do the rest of the sanding by hand, especially as we get to these more intricate detailed parts here. So I got this reusable sand block from Home Depot. This is the Diablo brand, and it came with 5 different pieces. It came with 2 80 grit pieces, 2 120 grit pieces, and then 1 220 grit piece. And the foam block itself has like a squishy side that is good for getting into the more contoured areas, and then this side is a little firmer for doing flat surfaces and harsher angles. So I think I'm going to start on this side. We're going to place the 80 grit piece on there like so, and start to get onto these flat surfaces that I was trying to do with the electric sander, but it just wasn't really working the way I wanted it to. Sanding this by hand proved to be much more challenging than I thought. It took forever, and it was so hot outside while I was doing it, so I was pouring sweat. I actually eventually realized that I could go back to using the electrical hand sander on the legs without messing up the table, and that of course moved much more quickly. Once I had finished sanding the piece as much as I could, because there were still some small areas and corners that I just couldn't get into with the Ryobi sander, I wiped it down really well with a wet rag and grabbed this Minwax stain that I had on hand. It is the dark walnut finish, and I went ahead and started applying that to the table. I originally started by using a spare cloth that I had, but I didn't want to stain my hands, so I grabbed this stain brush from the hardware store and finished applying the stain with it. As I applied the stain, I would go right back over it with that spear cloth just to absorb any excess stain and make sure there was an overall even coverage. Once the stain was fully dried, I of course wanted to seal it, so I used this Varathane polyurethane in a clear satin finish. As you can see before I apply it, the table has this dullness to it, but this sealant immediately gives it a richness and a slight luster. I got these antique style handles off of Amazon, and I thought that they would look perfect on this piece to elevate it and give it a totally different look that goes more with my aesthetic. I pop the drawer back into the table, and that completes this project. Here's the before and after. Alright y'all, that wraps up this video. Let me know what you think of this project in the comments. I learned a lot throughout this process, what it takes to flip a piece of furniture, how much time you have to invest in it, how much money you have to invest into it as well, different challenges that you might run into, and I certainly ran into a fair share of those. But overall, I think it was a great learning experience. I just don't know if I personally would want to do it again. I might just find somebody that does that professionally or who enjoys doing it and knows all of the different ins and outs of making sure a thrift flip is done well. But for me, it just took way too much time, a lot of effort, and there was still some imperfections about the piece that I wish I had not made, but that's okay. It's a learning experience, and it'll still be a great piece of furniture in my space, or I can give it to someone else, put it on Facebook Marketplace, whatever the case. So let me know what you think in the comments. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Consider sharing it with someone who you think might also enjoy it. And please don't forget to hit the subscribe button before you head out. I share affordable DIYs, home decor, and other home-related content, and I would love to have you join me here on my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all in the next one.